You know how it is in our nonstop, notification-driven world. It's just so easy to feel like you're constantly chasing the next thing. But what if some of the most practical advice for our lives today comes from a text that's over 2,000 years old? So today we're going to dive into the Samyukta Āgama. It's one of the foundational collections of early Buddhist scriptures, packed with talks from the Buddha and his disciples. We're going to pull out some of its timeless wisdom and see how it speaks directly to the stuff we deal with right now.
Okay, so let's just jump right in with a simple question. Where do you look for happiness? Seriously, think about it. Is it your job, your relationships, maybe your phone? We all have an answer, even if we don't say it out loud. Just kind of keep that answer in the back of your mind as we see what this ancient text has to say.
For most of us, it's so easy to get caught in this cycle of chasing things that, well, just don't last. We pour all our energy into making more money, getting likes and approval online, and finding that next quick hit of pleasure. But the Samyukta Āgama suggests we should, completely flip the script, to shift our focus away from that temporary chase and toward the things that actually stick around, real inner peace, genuine self-awareness, and a wisdom that lasts a lifetime.
And to really drive this point home, the text tells this brilliant story, the parable of the four wives. On the surface, it's a simple tale about a man and his attachments. But really, it's a story about all of us and what we truly value.
So this man's first wife, she was his absolute favorite. He'd shower her with the finest things, give her the best food, and cater to her every single whim. He just never wanted to be apart from her. And this first wife, as the story reveals, is a symbol for our own body, right? We pamper it, we worry about it, we spend so much of our lives just tending to its needs and how it looks.
Then you have his second wife. Now this one, he had to fight for. It was a real struggle to win her over. And having her brought him so much joy and security, but man, the thought of losing her, that filled him with absolute anxiety and sorrow. This wife, of course, represents our wealth and possessions, all the stuff we work so hard to get, protect, and just hold on to for dear life.
And the third wife? Well, she represents our family, our friends, our whole social circle. These are the people we celebrate with and the ones we lean on when things get tough. We share all of life's ups and downs with them, and they're a huge part of who we are. They are deeply, deeply important, but as we're about to see, even that connection has its limits.
And then there was the fourth wife. She was treated almost like a servant. The man gave her all the hardest jobs, barely paid her any attention, and honestly, probably forgot she even existed most of the time. He almost never cared for her or even bothered to ask how she was doing. This overlooked wife, the parable tells us, represents our own mind and the consequences of our actions, the very thing we ignore all the time in the daily grind.
So here's where it all comes together. The man finds out he has to go on a long, long journey, which is of course a metaphor for death. He asks each wife to come with him. The first three, they all refuse. His beloved body, the first wife, can't come along. His hard-won wealth has to be left behind. And his family and friends, they can only walk with him to the graveside but no further. But the fourth wife, the one he neglected, his mind, she says, "I will go with you. Wherever you go, I will be there." And this just brilliantly nails the core message. At the end of it all, the only thing that truly goes with us is our own mind and the karma we've built up. Basically the sum of our intentional actions and the mental habits we've spent a lifetime creating.
Okay, so the parable is all about taking care of our minds. But what does that actually look like in the real world? How does this wisdom help us deal with the hectic, sometimes difficult world outside our own heads? Let's dig into some practical insights for everyday life.
All right, let's get real for a second. We've all been there, right? Someone says something that's cutting or unfair or just plain mean, and our first instinct is usually to get defensive or to fire something right back at them. But the Samyukta Āgama offers a completely different playbook.
This image is just so powerful. It comes from a story where a man is just hurling insults at the Buddha, who stays completely calm through the whole thing. The Buddha then explains that getting angry at someone who is free from hatred is literally like spitting against the wind. The filth just comes right back and lands on you. The huge takeaway here is that someone else's anger only becomes your problem if you choose to accept it.
The text also totally redefines what it means to be generous. It's not about making some huge donation or giving to famous people. The real value is in the intention behind it. The text says giving to someone who's disciplined and kind-hearted brings great results.
But then it goes even further. It says that even washing out a bowl and tossing the scraps into the yard with the simple wish that the insects can have a meal, that is a powerful act of merit. True generosity isn't what you do, it's an internal state. It's a mind that is free from being stingy.
And all of this, it just keeps leading back to that fourth wife, the mind. To really change our lives, we have to get how our own mind works. And the sutras, they kind of offer us an operating manual for our own consciousness.
And the source code? It's surprisingly simple. The text boils everything down to these 3 roots. Every harmful or negative thing we do comes from either greed, hatred, or delusion. And on the flip side, every positive, wholesome action we take comes from their opposites: non-greed, non-hatred, and non-delusion. You can think of those as generosity, loving kindness, and clarity, just seeing things as they really are. It's really that straightforward.
So you might be asking, okay, how do we actually cultivate that clarity? Well, the text lays out a super practical roadmap, the 4 foundations of mindfulness. This is a step-by-step training in awareness. First, you just start with your body, noticing physical sensations without judging them. Then you move on to your feelings, learning to see them as pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, without getting swept away. After that, you observe the mind itself, just watching thoughts and moods come and go. And finally, you broaden that awareness to look at the nature of everything. It's a direct path from being distracted to being truly present.
So, after all this practical, hands-on advice, the Samyukta Āgama leaves us with one last and honestly kind of mind-bending metaphor that puts our entire search for knowledge into a whole new perspective.
I want you to just imagine for a second all the knowledge that exists. I mean, everything. Everything that could possibly be known about life, the universe, consciousness, just a massive, infinite ocean of wisdom. Now compare that vast ocean to the tiny, microscopic drop of knowledge that we can actually capture in words, in concepts, in books, including the very ones we're talking about right now.
The Buddha illustrates this with a simple but just, wow, profound gesture. He scoops up a little bit of dirt under his fingernail and asks his followers, which is greater, the dirt on my nail or all the dirt on the entire earth? And the answer's obvious, right? He then says that the wisdom that can be taught in words is like the dirt on his fingernail. But the wisdom that can only be realized through your own direct experience, that's like all the dirt on earth. What this teaches us is so important. Everything we learn from books and teachers, it's just the starting line. The real wisdom comes from living it.
And so, this ancient text leaves us with a very modern challenge. We've just looked at a tiny little pinch of dirt from under a fingernail. The rest of it, the vast earth of true understanding, is out there waiting. The real question is, how will you start to explore it for yourself? What wisdom will you choose to uncover?